going to start chapter 13 here. We've discussed in a partnership, we've taken all of our transactions that happen in our partnership and we've transferred them to our 5 journals. We've taken the transactions from our journals and we've posted those and the totals of those journals to our individual ledgers. Now what we're going to talk about today is preparing payroll records. And what payroll records are is basically a lot of you have jobs or you've had jobs in the past. We need to pay our employees. There's many people that work for us, whether it be stock people, cashiers, sales clerks, managers, supervisors, etc. We have to pay all of them. This is on page 310 in your book. So 13.1 deals with paying our employees and actually calculating and looking at their time cards. And a time card is well, first we're going to start with salary, and that's what we pay our employees, whether we pay them a salary, which, for example, someone might make $50,000 a year. Then that $50,000 is divvied up over the course of the year. Someone else, or maybe yourself, might make an hourly salary, let's say $10 an hour, and however many hours you work, that's what you get paid. If you work 40 hours at $10 an hour, you get $400. So the salary is what we agree to pay each individual employee. A pay period is a period in which we pay all of our employees. It could be monthly. We might pay all of our employees once a month, so 12 paychecks. We might pay them every 2 weeks. We might pay them every week. Just depends on what the company decides to do. Third term here is payroll, and that's the total amount earned by all of your employees. Every single employee. Your payroll might be $20,000, $50,000, $100,000, even $1 million. That's a total of what your employees have earned during a pay period. Pay period being a week, 2 weeks, month. Total earnings is the total amount we owe to each individual employee. We have a gross income, and so, for example, total earnings might be if you worked 40 hours a week at $10 an hour, your total earnings is $400. Okay, and this is really important. This is before we take out any deductions. You and I both know that if we make $400 in a week, we're not going to see $400. You have federal taxes, state taxes, FICA, Medicare, and many other deductions that are going to get taken out of your check. Okay, but the total earnings is what they actually earned. 10 times 40 is 400. So analyzing a payroll, again, we're omni-import. We always are going to have some kind of identification number for each employee. We're not going to really sort them by name necessarily. It's usually for ease. It's just going to be numbered. Pay period ending. So it looks like middle of the month they get paid probably twice a month or every 2 weeks. Your time cards might look something like this. They might be by the minute, or it might be 8 to 12, 1 to 5. You're going to notice that there's a period in here where there's an hour where they didn't get paid. That's their lunch. So any overtime hours, and then we're going to add up those regular hours. So how to calculate this? Again, we're going to just add up the hours. So this person worked from 8 to 12. We're always going to round up or round down. They worked 8 to 12. They made up those 2 minutes. And then they worked 1 to 5. Total of 8 hours. It's not going to be by the minute. You're going to notice here that they worked overtime. Anything over 8 hours in a day or anything over 40 hours in a week is considered overtime. And for this purpose, overtime is time and a half. So if you get paid $10 an hour, for every overtime hour that you work, you get paid $15 an hour. So this person this day worked 7 to 9:30 of overtime, 2.5 hours. I'm going to write that in the overtime column. Down here we're going to add up their total hours for that pay period. Again, this is a 2-week pay period. We're going to add up their overtime hours, and we're going to put a total right here. And it goes through the steps of how to do this. You're going to do this in just a minute here. We're going to calculate, this person, Rick Selby, he earns $12 an hour. We're going to times this by this to get this amount, times their overtime rate, which again is time and a half, times their hours, get this, and then we're going to total this up. Just like so. And again, you're going to learn how to do this in Excel to do this very quickly. Your time cards, I kind of just copied and pasted some off the internet. Some of them are written in, and you total up the hours and the total amount. Some of them are a time clock where you clock in when you get to work. Some of you might do this, and it might be just done on a computer. But we're always going to have what they worked each day, a total of hours, any overtime, and the total hours that they worked. Okay, so we're going to go right to, I'm going to escape out of this, and we're going to go to our Excel spreadsheet. And you should open this file up. This is the only file that we're going to use for these narration lectures here. And we're going to complete Part A. And the only thing we're going to do in Part A, and you're going to notice OYO on your own, so we're going to do this very quickly for 13.1. You notice our employee numbers are all in alpha or numerical order. How many hours that they worked for that pay period. Now this is 1 week pay period. 40 hours. This person worked 25, 40, 40. Then they have some overtime hours. So we're going to calculate that all up. Notice that I've already formatted the cells for accounting so that we have the dollar sign and the cents automatically for us. So let's put the formula in here. For earnings, our regular earnings is going to be equals how many hours they worked, regular hours that they worked, times what they made, and hit enter. Again, I've already formatted these cells for accounting. For the overtime, we're going to put equals overtime hours times their regular rate. Now we're going to times this by 1.5 because again, it's time and a half. It's double the time minus a half. So we'll figure out how much they actually make here. $88.20. So their total earnings is going to equal the sum of those two. I'm just going to quickly sum this up and select these two cells. So this is this person's total earnings for this pay period or for this week. And what we're going to do is we're going to run all of these formulas down. Again, you have to go down to the bottom corner, drag it down, and this takes care of Part A. Notice that this person has 0 overtime dollars. This is to know that our formula is correct. Well, you can see they had 0 overtime hours. I want you to do this part. Actually, we're going to put employee 5. Now what I can do is I'm going to run this formula all the way down. So I'm going to go to this box. I'm going to select these and go to this box. And I'm going to go to these and run the formula down to this box. We also need to put a regular rate. Let's say this person is a supervisor and they make $18.50 an hour. So put that in. Looks like we need to format this cell to accounting. Let's put their hours in. Let's say they worked 37 hours. You're going to notice that the formulas change automatically. Maybe they worked 5 hours of overtime. If I put this in, notice that their total earnings is going to change. Let's delete that though. So I do want you to have this entry put in. And now I'm going to show you what an actual, this is just to kind of set up the formulas here of calculating how to do regular hours times what they make an hour plus their overtime to get their total earnings. Now we're going to show you how to actually calculate the time card. So this is a time card for Marie Kearns. You have 3 here. Notice the employee number. This is for period ending April 15th of 2014. So again, probably every 2-week pay period. They make $11.80 an hour. Then you have Henry Miller. He makes $9.80 an hour. And then you have Sylvia Rodriguez, and she makes $9.20 an hour. So let's go ahead and calculate their time cards here. I'm going to do the first one, and then you're going to do the last 2 on your own. Notice that the 8 to 12 checked out, and then they're back in 1 to 5. So we have normal hours of 8. And I can see, but you're going to want to double check, but you can see that they're all the same. So we're going to just copy this cell down, and I'm actually going to hit Control C and Control V to paste those down. Overtime, they had 1 hour of overtime. Then they had 1.5 hours of overtime, or an hour and a half. Notice that I'm not putting 1.3. We're going to use 1.5 to tell us that it's a half hour. And again, another hour and a half. So here is their total time card. what it would look like for the pay dates of April 1st through the 15th. These are the days that they worked, the times that they checked in and out, and how much overtime they had. We need to total those up. I didn't use a formula here because I didn't. It would be difficult to put 12, the 12 o'clock minus 8 o'clock, etc. So just to make it simple, count them up yourself for this application. Down here at the bottom, we need to total up their hours. So we are going to sum this. We're going to use a formula here. Hit auto sum. It's important that you put the formulas in because this is part of what I'm grading. And let's just select the whole pay period column. Hit enter. Okay. Notice that we already have the rate down here. We have 80 hours. Let's add up their overtime. 1 plus 3 is 4. So we're going to put 4 there. We could also put a formula in for that. Actually, let's do that. Sum. And let's select all these cells. Here we go. Hit enter. That way, if I have any other overtime that I missed, anything that I put in here, if I put 4 hours of overtime, it's going to change this number here. Let's go up and delete that. Okay, at rate, and we need to figure out the hourly rate for overtime. And how to do that is we're going to put a formula for equals the rate times 1.5. So whenever they have overtime hours, they're paid at $17.70 an hour. So they're getting paid $11.80 for 80 hours of work. They're getting paid $17.70 for those 4 hours of overtime. Every hour they get paid this. To put our formula in for the amount, we're going to put equals hours times the rate, just like we did above. Hit enter. For this one, equals overtime hours times the rate equals. And then we need our total earnings, which is going to be the sum of those two. Already selected it for us. Hit enter. It's already formatted. So the total earnings for this employee for these 2 weeks is $1,014.80. Let's go ahead and total up our total hours as well. Auto sum. Select both of those cells. Hit enter. 84 total hours. I want you at this time to do Henry Miller's, add up the regular hours and overtime hours, put in the formulas for calculating the total earnings, and I also want you to do it for Sylvia Rodriguez. And that is the end of 13.1. Should be able to quickly do this. Make sure that you save your document because for 13.2 and 13.3, part A and B, you're going to need this file to email me. And we're taking care of the work togethers, on your owns, and the application problems all in one shebang.